Okay, this is a painting I did of one of my daughter-in-law's foster kittens. She takes really good photographs, and I used one of them as a reference. This little kitten's name is Captain. I took my brush and covered the drawing with water inside the outlines of the kitten. And I'm using a wet in wet technique to apply the color. The key here in applying the color is to have wet paper but a drier brush. In other words, the paper has lost some of its wetness to where it's lost some of its shine of the, you don't want just a extremely wet paper. And then you want to take most of the water out of your brush, and you apply your brush to the palette to get the color and apply that to the wet paper. So that gives you the control to kind of keep the colors where you want them on the wet paper. Now that the paper has dried, I come back with a fine brush to add the detail to the kitten. As I draw, I continually look back and forth to my reference photograph. And as I draw, I render the fur with a few lines here and there. It's not necessary to render every single follicle of hair or fur on the kitten, but just with a few strategically placed lines here and there to indicate the fur, your brain will fill in the rest of the fur. So it's kind of a shorthand trick that artists know how to use. The full final effect is that this is a furry kitten. Your brain tells you that that's what this is when you strategically place these indications of fur around the edges and other places. It's the same kind of thing when you're painting a tree. You don't paint every single leaf, but you give the indication and your brain fills in all the rest of the leaves. So here I finished most of the details in the face and the kitten itself, and I'm adding the background by covering the background with water, coming back with dark color and red. The red in the kitten itself is reflections of the red blankets and things that surrounded the kitten. So the kitten itself is not a red kitten, doesn't have red in its fur, but it's reflected light from its surroundings. Hopefully that's apparent or clear from the painting, but you never know. So I'm coming back to the edges of the backlighted fur with a fine brush to give it more of the illusion of fur. And I'm going to come back in a minute with opaque watercolor, sometimes called gouache, to further help with the illusion of fur. You'll see that in a minute. There, you add the highlights to the eyes. That always brings them out. And here's the gouache opaque watercolor for the fur. My daughter-in-law rescues these kittens from difficult situations and takes them home and cleans them up and defleas them and gets them all clean and nice and takes care of them for months before she can find permanent homes for them. Here come the whiskers. After I finished this video, I went back and added a few details to maybe darken up the top of the nose a little bit, and carefully checking my reference, getting a few things cleaned up, added my signature. A few of these I'll just sit there and I'm thinking, and I'm not paying attention to what my brush is doing because I'm looking away and thinking about something else. You'll see it happen again with the white tip of my brush where I was just sitting there not paying attention. Right here. Then I clean it up. I think it's about time to remove the tape. Okay, that's it.